Here's a truth most people never admit. You are not tired. You are underused. You are not lost. You are misaligned. And you are not average. You are unrealized. The frustrating feeling you carry, the quiet sense that you could be more, do more, become more, is not delusion. It's potential. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you never confront who you truly are, you will live and die as a fraction of yourself. Not because you lack talent, but because you never faced your own depth. There is a moment that happens in almost everyone's life, usually late at night, when the distractions are gone and a voice whispers, "This isn't all I'm capable of." You feel it when you see someone living boldly. You feel it when you imagine a version of yourself that feels powerful, confident, alive. And then you go back to normal, back to routine, back to comfort, back to the mask. And that voice quiets down again, but it never disappears. Most people think finding their potential means reading more books, grinding harder, optimizing routines, learning new skills. But according to Carl Jung, your true potential is not something you add. It is something you uncover. And here's the conflict. The person you think you are is only a small portion of who you actually are. Jung believed every human being has two psychological layers: the persona, the mask you show the world, and the shadow, the parts of you that you hide. Your potential does not live in your mask. It lives in your wholeness. But becoming whole requires courage, because the shadow contains everything you were taught to suppress: anger, ambition, intensity, desire, dominance, creativity, rebellion. And until you integrate these parts, you remain split, and a divided person cannot reach full potential. Let's make this personal. Maybe you were taught to be the good one, the responsible one, the agreeable one. So you buried your boldness. Maybe you were praised for being logical, so you suppressed your creativity. Maybe you were rewarded for being calm, so you repressed your anger. But what if the parts you buried were the very parts meant to make you powerful? Let me ask you something strange. Have you ever felt irritated by someone confident, triggered by someone unapologetically ambitious, annoyed at someone who speaks their mind without fear? Good, because that irritation might be the doorway to your potential, and I'll explain why. Here's the uncomfortable psychological truth. The traits you criticize most in others are often the traits you have disowned in yourself. You judge arrogance, but maybe you suppress your ambition. You judge selfishness, but maybe you abandon your own needs. You judge dominance, but maybe you silence your authority. Jung called this projection. We project the parts of ourselves we refuse to accept, and those rejected parts don't disappear. They wait. An energy that is suppressed does not vanish. It transforms. Suppressed anger becomes anxiety. Suppressed ambition becomes resentment. Suppressed creativity becomes boredom. Suppressed assertiveness becomes passivity. And then you wonder why you feel stuck. It's not because you lack potential, it's because you locked it away. So here's the real question. If your potential is buried in your shadow, how do you access it without losing control? How do you integrate power without becoming reckless? How do you become whole without self-destructing? This is where Jung introduces one of the most important ideas in psychology: individuation. Individuation is the process of becoming who you truly are, not who your parents shaped, not who society rewards, not who social media applauds, but who you are beneath conditioning. And this process is not comfortable because it requires you to confront your fears, your jealousy, your suppressed desires, your contradictions. Jung once said, One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That means you don't unlock potential by pretending to be positive. You unlock it by confronting what you avoid. From childhood, you build a persona, a mask that keeps you safe, a mask that earns approval, a mask that avoids rejection, and the longer you wear it, the harder it becomes to remove. But here's the problem. The persona is limited. It is designed for acceptance, not expansion. If your mask is always nice, you suppress boundaries. If your mask is always rational, you suppress emotion. If your mask is always calm, you suppress intensity. But intensity fuels transformation. Most people feel exhausted not because life is hard, but because they are divided. Public self, private self, external image, internal chaos. The greater the gap, the greater the tension, and tension drains energy. Energy that could fuel potential. When you integrate your shadow, you reduce internal conflict. When internal conflict decreases, energy returns. And energy is the currency of growth. Jung believed the unconscious communicates through symbols, especially dreams. Dreams of being chased, dreams of falling, dreams of being unprepared. These are not random. They reveal fears you avoid in waking life. Being chased often symbolizes avoidance. Falling represents loss of control. Being unprepared reflects self-doubt. Your unconscious is constantly signaling where growth is needed. But most people ignore it. They distract themselves. And distraction delays destiny. Here's another uncomfortable truth. You may not fear failure. You may fear your own expansion. Because becoming more visible means more responsibility, more judgment, more pressure. Staying small feels safer. If you don't try, you can't fail. If you don't rise, you can't fall. But if you don't rise, you also never live. Jung believed the ego resists transformation because transformation threatens identity. You are attached to who you've been, even if it limits you. Growth requires symbolic death. The old you must dissolve, and that feels terrifying. Let me say this clearly. You are not stuck. You are avoiding. Avoiding discomfort, avoiding confrontation, avoiding the parts of yourself that feel dangerous. But the danger is not in your shadow. The danger is in ignoring it. Every year you delay integration, your frustration increases, your restlessness grows, because deep down you know there is more inside you, and you are tired of pretending there isn't. Pay attention to what fascinates you, what inspires you irrationally, what you envy, what you secretly admire. These are clues. Envy is not evil. It's a compass. It shows you undeveloped territory. If you envy someone's courage, courage wants expression in you. If you envy someone's discipline, structure wants development in you. Your emotional reactions are maps. Most people use them to judge, use them to decode. When you begin integrating your shadow, something changes. You feel less defensive, less reactive, more grounded, because you are no longer fighting yourself. Alignment restores energy. Energy fuels action. Action builds skill. Skill builds confidence. Confidence unlocks expansion, and expansion reveals potential. But the foundation was psychological honesty, not motivation. To become whole, you must risk disapproval. When you set boundaries, someone loses convenience. When you speak truth, someone feels challenged. When you pursue a new path, someone questions you. If your identity depends on approval, you will shrink. If your identity depends on integration, you will expand. Expansion always disturbs the comfortable, but comfort caps potential. So here is one simple, powerful habit to begin realizing your true potential. Start observing your emotional triggers daily. When you feel strong emotion, jealousy, anger, admiration, insecurity, pause. Ask, what part of me is trying to emerge? Write it down. Don't judge it. Don't suppress it. Explore it. If you feel jealousy towards someone bold, ask how you can practice boldness. If you feel anger when disrespected, ask how you can set boundaries calmly. If you feel drawn to creativity, give it space weekly. Shadow integration is not dramatic. It is consistent awareness. 5 minutes of honest reflection daily can shift your trajectory over years, because awareness dissolves internal division, and wholeness unlocks potential.